Radiation monitors in Sweden and Finland this morning are showing unusually high readings, in places 3 times normal levels. At the moment, the source of those emissions is a mystery, but speculation has arisen of a nuclear power plant accident inside the Soviet Union.
It may seem difficult to believe, but we know more about this nuclear accident than the people living in the Soviet Union. The Soviet media downplaying the disaster, keeping the people there in the dark.
На Чернобыльской атомной электростанции произошла авария. Поврежден один из атомных реакторов. Принимаются меры по ликвидации последствий аварии. Пострадавшим оказывается помощь. Создана правительственная комиссия.
Moscow television claimed the Western media are spreading rumors.
We will show a photograph taken by one of the workers at the Chernobyl nuclear plant, taken just after. So there is no gigantic damage and there is no great fires. And there aren't thousands of people dead.
Buonasera. Le conseguenze del disastro nella centrale nucleare di Chernobyl in Unione Sovietica concentrano quasi totalmente l'attenzione di tutto il mondo. Le autorità di Mosca confermano che, al contrario da quanto detto da più parti, l'incidente ha fatto solo 2 morti, mentre quasi 200 sono le persone ricoverate in ospedale.
All day there was speculation that a meltdown had occurred in a second reactor at the Chernobyl complex. Tonight, however, that seems unlikely. There are conflicting reports coming out of the Soviet Union. We do know that a zone of deadly radiation is being released from the damaged plant, and the accident is far from over.
Good evening. A senior government minister admitted to the Commons today that after Chernobyl, it was no good scientists and politicians simply asserting that everything is all right with nuclear power.
Выше! Во! Держи это место! Держи! Держи! Где дым идет? Где дым?
This is what the Soviet government tried to cover up. A catastrophic nuclear accident, something the world had never seen before. Reactor 4 at the Chernobyl nuclear power plant had exploded, releasing lethal amounts of radiation into the atmosphere. In this photograph taken by Igor Kostin, radiation can visibly be seen as it contaminates the photographic film within his camera. In this control room, Leonid Toptonov, a young but senior technician, began an experiment which led to an extremely unstable reactor configuration. To this day, many of the switches remain untouched, still in the same position they were the morning of the accident. As the reactor core lay exposed, a plume of highly radioactive smoke continued to rise into the skies. Chernobyl, located 82 miles north of Ukraine's capital city Kiev, was once a small town located in the far east of the Soviet Union. Nuclear fallout from the explosion was initially spread hundreds of miles, carried by the wind in clouds. Neighbouring towns and cities were heavily contaminated. However, nearly 1,000 miles from Chernobyl, Sweden was the first country to detect that something disastrous had happened. The fallout had even reached the United Kingdom. North Wales had been contaminated the worst, and even to this day, 330 hill farms have restrictions on them. The darker orange areas of this map are badly contaminated, and the red areas are severely contaminated with cesium-137, an isotope released into the atmosphere by the reactor explosion. The result was, and still is, devastating. Belarus was by far the worst affected, life-changing effects. Some of these effects are illnesses like thyroid cancer, birth defects like dysplasia, deformation, intellectual disabilities, and suffering, and all caused by an invisible force. London, one of the largest and busiest cities in the world. Radiation can be found here and all other cities. Known as background radiation, it is constantly present in the environment of Earth, which is emitted by natural and artificial sources. A normal background radiation level is considered to be between 0.10 and 0.30 microsieverts, a measure of radiation dose.
Pretty big house. I guess it was something like synagogue, some religious building, religious structure.
These tanks were used during the evacuation of Chernobyl and Pripyat. Nikolai explains more.
Here it's already 16. Yeah, but closer it's increasing. 9. So it's already 90 times more than normal. But I think it's absolutely enough. 0.2, 0.15. Zero point 13, so it's okay. All places in Chernobyl are clean. So these robots, they have been on the roof of third reactor, of third unit. They were broken a few days after because the radiation fields pretty highly contaminated. So it's about 20-25 microsieverts. Those guys, they were heroes. Those 28 firefighters, they came first. They came 2 minutes after the blast, so they didn't know anything about radiation. They didn't have any protection, and they received huge doses of radiation and died a couple of weeks after. They sacrificed their own lives to save millions of another. Hotspot is here, 150, 64. Come on, 200. Yes.
Echo! Chernobyl!
So, it's 0.3, but we try to measure this bone. 5.6. It's like local fun, local entertainment. Everybody who go to the lunch, to canteen, everybody feed this fish on the way back. Well, excellent sound. .4, 3.5, 6, 8, 6 milli, 6.2, enough.
So tomorrow we're going to be seeing Pripyat. We didn't get to see it today, simply because because I'm here for 2 days. It was just easier to spend a bit more time around the power plant today and Chernobyl and other bits and pieces around the actual power plant itself. So tomorrow we're going to be spending a majority of the day in Pripyat, and we're also going to be speaking to some of the resettlers. These are people that have basically moved back into neighbouring towns after being ushered away from Chernobyl and the other smaller towns around, but they've actually come back over the years, and they're now living within close proximity to the exclusion zone. So we're going to be chatting to some of these people. I was told earlier the average age of the resettler is 65 years old, so they're getting on in age, and they are slowly passing away, but not because of any radiation-related sicknesses. It's just old age, which is another example of how kind of safe the area is, as long as you obviously stick to the rules. Where was he on the day of the accident? Was he working?
А на день аварії ви тут були чи десь?
Тут. Я ж робив тут поки.
Ага.
В совхозі робив.
He worked here on a collective farm.
Okay.
Я ще в совхозі проробив 12 років.
А коли вам сказали, що зрив вже?
То нам зразу з першого дня сказали. Ну, мінімально не братили.
They knew about the accident the next day.
The next day?
Yeah.
So they weren't told immediately?
На повний ход сіяли все, робили.
It was usual day. Usual day, nobody knows about it.
Did he perhaps lose any relatives or family in the disaster at all?
Вас втратили родичів після аварії?
Да, втратили.
Хто?
Ну, моє то так ще, моя родня то ще так. Матка одна погибла.
Мама ваша?
Да. А є і сестра, і друга сестра погибла, і вже считай, зять, як там вже чоловік погиб, і тут небож погиб, уже считай, двоюродної сестри, чи родної сестри, син, теж погиб.
He lost his mother and both sisters. So he is alone.
А друзей моїх почти що всі.
And almost all friends are dead.
Так як ті, що зі мною працювали,
Those guys who were
то ні одного нема.
with him on the power plant. So all of them are dead. Да. А де ж, як бабушка ваша поживає?
Да заболіла ж ото ж.
Заболіла?
Да, ноги.
He lives
Так лежить в інституті.
his wife, but he's very sick now. So now he is in a hospital. Now he is alone.
Я при совєтській власті лежав, я попав трохи під аварію. Так я й рубля не заплатив, навіть у своїй одежі не лежав, у їхній одежі. Прийшли, розділи мене, положили і вилечили.
He says that
І безплатно.
he can feel radiation without any counters. Правда, ви ж можете радіацію вичисляти без щотчика?
Можу.
He can.
You can feel it.
Yeah.
What does it feel like?
Як ви чуєте?
Ну, якщо я попав в радіацію, мене зразу губи сохнуть, в горлі дере,
Yeah.
і голова крутить, в голові крутиться. І все, і то знаєш, що вже попав. І то я вискакую скоріше оттуда.
And then he should leave this zone immediately because he can feel it. But
Pripyat was founded in 1970 to house workers for the Chernobyl nuclear power plant. It was officially proclaimed a city in 1979, but was abandoned following the Chernobyl disaster. Pripyat was a modern city, ahead of its time and home to around 50,000 people before the accident. Pripyat is located less than 2.5 miles away from the power plant. It had a defined city centre where the city hall, the largest shopping centres, major recreational facilities, restaurants and bars were located. The day after the accident, the city council of Pripyat informed its residents the need to temporarily evacuate due to deteriorating radioactive conditions. They recommended its people to take their documents, some vital personal belongings, and to ensure that lights were turned off, electrical equipment and water off, and windows shut. The council insisted that everyone remained calm and orderly in the process of a short-term evacuation. Pripyat's people would never return.
is the main square. That Palace of Culture. And the rest of buildings are usual apartments. This Palace of Culture consisted of two departments, cultural and sport department. So cultural department includes theater, disco bar, this room, and small meeting hall, and sport part consisted of sport hall, big sport hall, small swimming pool on the ground floor, and boxing ring and different sport sections. Amusement park. It's never saw children. It was a period of Cold War between USA and USSR. So every school, every kindergarten had storage with the gas masks. See, it's a little size for children. Nothing, 0.6. This way.
This is the hospital basement where clothing of the 28 firemen was discarded.
.7. Now here we are. See, part of the suit. This is closest. 9. 10. Not so much. Further. These shoes. Oh. 16. 15. Still nothing. Oh, this is it. This is the shoe of the firefighter. 300, 420, 540. 500. Another one. 400. Further, robe of the firefighter. 170. Let's check. This is it. This is the room with the closest. Let's check some. Yes, and 100, 200 microsieverts. 400. 450. Extremely radioactive place. It's very, very contaminated. So that was enough? Enough. So you can imagine how much they received.
Today, Chernobyl and Pripyat are still amazing places. There simply is nowhere else quite like them. They were once thriving, full of life, but now they will be abandoned forever until nature breaks them down to the point where they won't exist anymore.